Hello, guys. Welcome to my channel. This is Mona Cooker, and welcome to Monatology 101. And my topic today is about the Philippine ex-president Noynoy Aquino, who passed away a few days ago. He is 61 years old, and he died because of so many like ailments like diabetes and kidney problems. So, condolence to all Filipino people and to the Philippines. Salute to Noynoy Aquino, who really, I believe, did a great job for the Philippines during his time. And actually, I am not Dilawan and I'm not pro Duterte administration. So I'm kind of a little bit progressive than my politics is different, And although during Aquino's administration, I am one of Aquino's critics, and as you all know, I'm going to be always critical when it comes to the care and the welfare of the Filipino people. And I think um, that's a good idea so that we will remain vigilant and for the benefits of all Filipino people. And so let's see and read about this New York Times. They have an article about Noynoy Aquino. It says a scion of the country's most prominent pro-democracy political family. He was celebrated early in his administration for stabilizing the country's faltering economy. Former President Benigno Aquino III of the Philippines, you know, he is the son of the late Benigno Aquino Sr., who been assassinated during Marcos regime, and after that, his widow Corazon Aquino, ousted the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, and she Cory Aquino became the president for I'm not sure if two terms. So this is the result of the Philippines people power during 19, I believe it happened 1984 or 1985. And I'm proud to say that I'm one of those people who came to EDSA, which we call it EDSA Revolution. And I was there during this time. So let's read this, continue to read this article. Okay, Noynoy, we called Noynoy Benigno Aquino. His sister Pinky Aquino Abilada said the cause was renal disease secondary to diabetes. That's the reason why he passed away. During his presidency from 2010 to 2016, Mr. Aquino stood up to China, oversaw economic growth, and passed an important reproductive rights bill, but he later faced scandal that marred his legacy. Mr. Aquino was, in effect, Philippine political royalty, the son of two political icons in a country where family ties are paramount. He was swept into office after the death in 2009 of his mother, former President Corazon C. Aquino. She in turn had risen to prominence as the widow of Benigno S. Aquino Jr., a prominent politician who was assassinated in 1983. That assassination set in motion a surge of opposition that culminated in 1986 popular uprising known as People Power, which ended the two-decade dictatorship of President Ferdinand E. Marcos and paved the way for Mrs. Aquino to assume presidency. In a statement, Senator Amy Marcos, a daughter of the former president whom the Aquinos had helped oust, paid tribute to the younger Mr. Aquino for his kind and simple soul. Following Mrs. Aquino's death in 2009, her son was carried to the presidency on a groundswell of sentimental support, succeeding an unpopular president, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. When his term ended in 2016, he was in turn succeeded by the current strongman President Rodrigo Duterte. In a national address toward the end of his term, Mr. Aquino described his initial reluctance to run for president. He had witnessed the tribulations that his mother endured, he said, and he was all too aware of the country's endemic corruption. When my mother died, my confidence diminished further. Our family leaders and inspiration to pursue change was gone, he said. At her wake, someone approached me and suggested that I run for presidency. My immediate response, I am not a masochist. On August 28, 1987, 1 year into his mother's presidency, Mr. Aquino was wounded when disaffected military officers mounted one of several unsuccessful coups. When the rebels tried to lay siege to the presidential mansion, Malacanang Palace, Mr. Aquino, who was in nearby building, by five, was struck by 5 bullets, one of which remained embedded in his neck. 3 of his military escorts were killed while protecting him, and a fourth was wounded. At the end of his term, Mr. Aquino had an approval rating of 57%, according to a survey by the polling agency Social Weathering Stations, the highest of any outgoing president in recent times. It is with profound sadness that I learned this morning of the passing of former President Benigno Aquino III. Justice Marvic Leonen, an Aquino appointee to the Supreme Court, said in a statement, I knew him to be a kind man, driven by his passion to serve the people, diligent in his duties, and with an avid and consuming curiosity about new knowledge of the world in general. Popular known as Noynoy, Mr. Aquino won election in a landslide on the promise of steady leadership and rooting out corruption. In an effort to connect with common Filipinos, he was the first president to deliver a State of the Nation address in Tagalog, the most widespread local language. Under Mr. Aquino, average economic growth surpassed 6.0%, the highest in recent years, gaining the country investment grade status from rating agency. In the first quarter of 2016, shortly before the end of his term, the Philippine economy grew at a rate of 6.9%, which was at the time the fastest in Asia. Yes, I remember that I was already here in United States when President Benigno Aquino III, became the president, and I was so very impressed. He's the first president that I heard speaking in Tagalog in every speech he made during his time, and I was like telling myself, "Oh yes, this is what the Filipino needs. The Filipino needs a Tagalog speaker uh, president," and I think this is one of the problem why a lot of Filipinos are having a hard time understanding about politics, about understanding many things, because in the Philippines we are very Americanized. You know what I mean? Like even the news and in school we are we are forced to understand English. We are forced to speak in English because this is our second language. But I think there is a disadvantage of this culture and wha- uh, which a lot of majority of many Filipinos don't really understand well, especially the news and politics where when the politicians are speaking in English. So and I salute that for for I salute that for Benigno Aquino III. And also, he was the first one who started this drug bust operation. I remember this watching in television where there's a drug bust inside the Muntinlupa detention center, and This is why uh, the Senator Laila de Lima got in trouble when she was the first who you did this the drug operation in Bilibid prison, and I think a lot of drug lords and drug users are being offended by this, and now they are they when Benigno Aquino, he lost his position and Duterte became the president, they started giving Leila de Lima a hard time. These powerful drug lords who are, I don't know whom they are connected with, that they are very strong, that they were able to put de Lima in prison until now. So by the way, let's continue. Under Mr. Aquino, average economic growth surpassed 6.6%, the highest in recent years, gaining the country investment grade status from rating agencies in the first quarter of 2016, shortly before the end of this term. The Philippine economy grew at a rate of 6.9%, which was at the time the fastest in Asia. One of his most significant achievements was the enactment of the rights law that made contraception readily available to the poor. To, the, he faced, to do so, he faced down decades of resistance by the powerful Roman Catholic Church in an overwhelming Catholic country. Under Mr. Aquino leadership, the Philippines was one of the few Southeast Asian nations willing to stand up for China. He stand up to China. He sued Beijing over the two countries competing claims in the South China Sea, taking his case to an international tribunal in The Hague. In a landmark ruling in 2016, the tribunal found that there was no legal basis to support China expansive claim to sovereignty over the waters. Mr. Aquino, difficulties began early. 2 months into his presidency, a disgruntled former police officer hijacked a tourist bus, hold on, carrying Pan from Hong Kong. 2 months into presidency, a disgruntled former police officer hijacked a tourist bus carrying passengers from Hong Kong. 8 people were killed in a bungled rescue attempt. As a result, Hong Kong issued a warning advising residents not to travel to the Philippines. In November 2013, Mr. Aquino was accused of reacting sluggishly to the powerful Typhoon Haiyan, which killed 6,000 people in the central Philippines. Some Western nations, including Canada, cited the Aquino administration's lack of immediacy in their decisions to sidestep the government and donate money and aid directly to the non-governmental organization instead. In his greatest setback, 44 Special Forces police officers and a number of civilians were killed in 2015 in botched attempt to capture one of the region's most wanted terrorism suspects. The raid resulted in the largest officer in the recent memory. In 2017, the country's anti-graft prosecutor said Mr. Aquino should be held accountable for the officer's death because he had allowed the suspended national police chief accused of corruption to oversee the operation. Benigno Juanco Aquino III was born on February 8, 1960 into one of the nation's wealthiest land-owning political families. He was trained as an economist and worked in his family business before starting his political career. He served 2 terms in Congress before being elected senator in 2007. In addition to his sister Pinky, Mr. Aquino, who never married, is survived by 3 other sisters: Chris Aquino, Victoria, Elisa Aquino D, and Balsi Aquino Cruz. Okay, there's a correction here in June 24, 21. An earlier version of this obituary misstated Mr. Aquino approval rating at the end of his term as president. It was 57%, not 27%. All right. This was written by, this was an article from New York Times. And yes, thank you for this. I don't claim this my own words. This is written by Seth Maidans and Russell Goldman. Looks like they are American people, not Filipino, who wrote this article. So you will say that this is an unbiased article, but hey, um, I'm not a Dilawan. I'm not a actually fans of Aquino administration, but I would say that the Aquinos are the most. I would say they are the most honest leader in the Philippines. The two Aquinos, Son Aquino and Noynoy Aquino. They did a great job for the Philippines because there's no perfect government, and I would say that thank you for their family for taking care and allowing our and doing their best to s- to help the Filipino people, and condolence to our Filipino people, especially those who are really a follower of this family. And I'm one of his critic those times, and I will be remain a critic to any political figures whom I think need some questioning. You know what I mean? So, but all in all, I would say Benigno Aquino III is a good president, ex-president of the Philippines, and thank you for watching. This is a tribute to Noynoy, and condolence to Filipino people. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye, guys. Now I'm gonna put it as a